I am super excited to jump into our next session. I think it'll be really relevant to everyone that's listening today. You're going to talk about kind of the industry trends that we've been seeing, and then kind of where we are and where we're going moving into 2021 with password security. And let's leave a few minutes at the end to address some questions that we're getting in the chat. I see some questions coming in about features that are coming, so I'd love to get a chance to address those at the end. So without further ado, go ahead, and I think you have some slides for us, so I'll let you share your screen.
I'll do, thank you. So yeah, I just wanted to, as Elizabeth mentioned, and thank you for that, kind of touch on what's really coming in password security for 2021, what we're doing around that, and give a glimpse into our thought process, both as an engineering organization and as a company itself as we look towards the future. So really, as we look at the different topics that I want to cover, there's kind of two overarching themes as we look at industry trends, and what folks need to really get, as we talked about some of these earlier. They came up in previous sessions. The themes are usability and adoption. So when we talk about without ease of use, people won't use it, right? Simple as that. So unless you have something that's usable and that people want to use, they feel secure using, they're not going to, and that impacts security. And then adoption. So when we talk about organizations, maybe it's your family, maybe it's someone who you're trying to get to have better password security. They want to use the solution. It needs to be adopted quickly and frictionlessly. So I know one of these lends itself to the other, but as we talk of them, they really are distinct in some areas. So moving on to the first topics, we talk about access and sharing. So before I get into a little bit about how we're addressing this, part of that entire adoption and usability theme, and really usability here, is how do I easily share secrets? How do I access those secrets, whether they're passwords, files, other secure data and information that I need? And then how do I work through that in, say, an organizational setting or a personal setting, maybe with family, friends, maybe with coworkers or within a team? All of those things need to lend themselves naturally to human behavior. So what we're really looking at here is how we can impact sharing, how we can impact using Bitwarden, for example, as you switch between organization use or personal use, emergency access or survivability, all about how we can help folks who have more and more of our digital lives online, more and more of our lives, period, online, especially as been mentioned before with the pandemic at hand. Almost everything we do now is on a digital world, digital device. We're grocery shopping on our phones, things like that. What happens to your accounts, to your personal information, other things in an emergency? So those are some of the topics that we're looking at over the next years. We look at things like emergency access, account takeovers, app profiles, etc. And then also along the adoption theme, enterprise management is going to be one of the things we're looking at over the next year in 2021. Managing an enterprise or organization's vaults. There are myriad reasons within a company or organization you need to share accounts, share passwords, share keys, and other types of information securely. And with that, and when we talk about compliance, another big topic of 2020 and 2021, especially on the heels of new laws and regulations like GDPR and CCPA, auditability, reporting, and traceability through what you're doing are also important while maintaining security and privacy. And then for enterprise managers, administrators, within organizations, you really need things to be easy. Like, you're not going to want a tool handed to you that you have to spend hours figuring out how to set up, how to use, doing things manually, and trying to find things. So usability is a big point there. And then organizational controls. I believe policies got brought up during the roundtable, and a couple times when we talk about companies really need to drill into granular permissions and better controls, or I like to call it rails, or the bumper guards in the bowling alley, right, around what your employees and users are doing to ensure they're safe without them really having to think about it. And so, as we mentioned during 2FA and some of the other industry trends, biometrics is a big thing coming up. At Bitwarden, we've recognized this. And while passwordless authentication is growing in demand in the marketplace, we notice more and more people have access to equipment and devices that support biometrics. So your phones, your laptops now are shipping with, face recognition stuff through your camera, or fingerprint scanners. So recognizing this and recognizing the landscape, this is something we're looking at expanding. We have a little bit of this in place today. We're going to look at expanding this and really making this a bigger part of our usability feature and onset. And again, an eye back towards some of those organization controls. Most of these things within a corporate setting will be have controls and policies and other things in place to ensure their safe use. And then accessibility. I think this lends really well to the usability theme. It's something where here at Bitwarden, we take accessibility seriously, but we support so many different clients, operating systems, platforms, et cetera. It's easy to miss things here and there. So as we go through and start auditing our systems and start having an eye towards usability for our users that either are using assistive technologies, maybe fine motor movement or dexterity issues, or other compromised situations, who need to use keyboard navigation and controls within their workday or whatever they're doing. And then one of the most often neglected one are slow or no connectivity scenarios for those who need online data or access to things, who can't connect to the internet, or they're at the airport and we know how great Wi-Fi is there. Not that too many people are at airports nowadays, but with all that being said, these are some of the areas we really focus on WCAG, and those are the accessibility or provisions for folks with needs around accessibility standards that runs in line with other governmental and legal standards throughout the world, kind of align themselves with the WCAG's A and AA standards. So we'll be looking at shoring up our clients and solutions to adhere to those and provide better accessibility across the board. And then integrations. So I don't think you can look many places today, whether it's on the internet, across various apps, platforms, desktops, devices, where integration is not a giant topic. So we're constantly looking for areas and ways that make sense, where as a company, we can design our product to work with others in a way to provide, whether that's secure sharing or encryption or automation, or working through cloud environments, et cetera. So there's plenty of opportunities out there for that, and we're going to be really holding a magnifying glass up to various points of integration we can start to tackle in the next year. And then deployment options. I know for those of you who are self-hosting Bitwarden, interested in self-hosting Bitwarden, and who have experience deploying or self-hosting any software for that matter, deployment options are important, and control over your environment. So we've really heard a lot of feedback from the community, and as we narrow in our focus from a DevOps perspective in the coming year, we'll be looking at consolidating our deployment model and our footprint of the application, looking at cloud native deployments, using your own VPCs and resources within your clouds or your company's cloud resources. Choice of database. I know this is another huge ask that's on our radar that we were planning to start looking at in 2021. Being able to use MySQL or Postgres or some of these other database platforms, whereas today Bitwarden is self-hosted on SQL Server. So all these and more we're going to be looking at kind of expanding on in the next year. So that's a very quick and kind of brief overview of some of the trends and things that we've recognized from the community and in industry for the coming year, and ways we're researching and looking at addressing that as a company and as a product. So with that, there's several resources here that can absolutely help view what we're doing. We have our community roadmap posted up there. Of course, we're on GitHub. Everything we do is open and out there, source code and all, as well as the discussions. You'll see exactly what we're working on and how that's coming. Now you can always tweet us at Bitwarden if you have questions, concerns, or anything you want to discuss with us. And then we have the Bitwarden blog with plenty of good industry news, upcoming trends, and news about the company, of course, and the product. So with that, I wanted to say thanks and open it up for any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Chad. That was a great 30,000-foot overview, if you will, of what's coming up next. Hopefully 2021 will be a little bit easier than 2020, I'm hoping. We do have a couple of questions in the chat that we have a couple extra minutes, so I think we should address. Someone asked, what is your perspective on SSO where the IDP has MFA versus Bitwarden login with MFA for a small company?
Sure. So I think either work. And if you're using a single sign-on in that scenario and you've already gotten multi-factor authentication for your IDP, and for those listening in, IDP is the identity provider, so the controller of the identity. That is probably well suited because you're using that for more than just Bitwarden. So Bitwarden SSO, we also have a policy that allows you to force SSO. So your users must come in through SSO. And while they still need a master password to decrypt their vault, that way you can enforce MFA through your own IDP, and you don't need it again on the Bitwarden vault because the Bitwarden vault will be enforcing the SSO requirement that your users come through your IDP in order to authenticate.
I think that just naturally leads into a common question that we get about, is there ever going to be a way where someone can just authenticate into Bitwarden using SSO and not have to enter their master password?
Sure, and that is something we're exploring, or ways that we can pass a known secret from the company or through the IDP, right, that acts as your master password. That requires special considerations, things like encrypted assertions, part of that end-to-end encryption cycle, areas where we need to consider maybe back channel checks or back channel communication where we get the assertion and then we have to go talk to back to your IDP to validate you or get a secret that wasn't posted in the assertion. There's different ways to think about that, and it is something we're looking into. It's something that has been brought up quite a few times, understandably.
We got a question in. Any thoughts on unofficial servers like Bitwarden_RS?
So thoughts as an open source, platform, absolutely have other folks in the community who I think Bitwarden RS specifically was born out of the desire to be able to run Bitwarden without SQL Server. And as I mentioned, optionality is something we're really pressing towards. So while I'd love that Bitwarden provides everything that it needs to for everybody, I don't think that's true of anything except for maybe pizza. But aside from that, those alternate solutions, the only thing I caution about those is while they work for the most part, certain functionality, new features, especially for our company or organizations looking to roll out a password manager, Bitwarden is backed by a full professional team of maintainers, developers, engineers, security researchers, and folks making sure that what we produce and put out there for everyone in the community and for our customers is top-notch and fully compatible with the Bitwarden official clients.
Thanks for addressing that. I think that's all the time we have today for questions. As always, we recommend you join us in our community forum. There's tons of discussion going on there. We also have an active Reddit community that loves to chat about all things security, all things open source. And if you have a pressing question that needs to be addressed, I'd love to have anyone join us. We have weekly demos on Wednesdays, as well as Vault Hours, which are kind of our version of office hours. And I think we have one coming up in a couple weeks. I'll drop it in the chat when I find the date. And that's a great time to bring your questions, and we'll have more time to address them there. So thank you, Chad, for all your time today. Thanks for the panel. Thanks for this discussion about the roadmap.
Thanks, Elizabeth.